Hello everybody, Jordan here, the PH is silent. Today I'd like to talk about Crenshinibon. Crenshinibon, also known as the Crystal Shard, a famous Forgotten Realms magical artifact that has swapped hands many times throughout its existence. I don't believe there are 5th edition stats for the Crystal Shard yet. It was first seen in the novel The Crystal Shard by R.A. Salvatore, which is the first book of his Icewind Dale trilogy. Later, this was adapted into a small series of comics by the same name. It is a very powerful artifact that enhances magic in individuals, coveted by fiends, powerful wizards, and everyday mortals. Originally created by liches, 7 liches from a distant crystal sphere, these liches were working together, which is not something you see liches do often. To aid in their goal of world domination, they decided to craft a powerful artifact. They built the Crystal Shard to gather its power from the sun. This was in mockery to the living races who also got their life from the sun. However, the liches underestimated their spell and their power. The magic it took to craft Crenshinibon became unstable and absorbed the liches into it. Their magic fueled the Crystal Shard to new levels of power, and the sun-like properties destroyed the consciousness of the liches. Their spirits were absorbed into the shard and became non-threateningly inert. The crystal appears as a 1-foot-long, 4-sided glowing crystal that is tapered like an icicle. Crenshinibon came to the Forgotten Realms millennia ago and wound up in or near Zakara. Top right corner for more information on Zakara and the Al-Qadim setting of the Forgotten Realms. For a long time, the magical artifact was just a powerful wizard's tool. The Crystal Shard was capable of throwing fireballs and creating walls of light. It could shoot beams of light so hot and bright it would burn away enemies in seconds. It also had the power to sort of duplicate and enlarge itself into a crystal tower. An individual, such as a wizard, could live in this tower if they controlled the artifact. The tower goes by the name Cryshal-Tirith, meaning crystal tower in Elven. The wielder of the Crystal Shard would command the artifact to duplicate itself, then set the new shard on the ground and recite some magical words. The duplicate expands and grows into a towering double of the shard. The tower is impervious and was even stronger during the daytime when it could absorb sunlight, reflecting attacks off of its mirrored walls. The Achilles heel of Cryshal-Tirith is the original crystal of strength that was used to construct the tower. However, this was hidden away within the structure. Later on in Zakara, the Crystal Shard fell into the hands of a sultan. Although the shard was imbued with the desire to conquer because of its lich creators, it obeyed without question. This sultan wished only for peace in his kingdom, but his neighbors wished to take over his realm. The two sides warred endlessly. The Sultan somehow discovered the history of the Crystal Shard, and after spending time with his wizards, decided the lich's work was unfinished. He would create multiple Cryshal-Tiriths to not only protect his kingdom, but to strengthen Crenshinibon. More towers would equal more surface for sunlight to be absorbed. He created hundreds of towers that went from his capital out across to his kingdom's second city, a line of protection from the invading army. Although this was a mistake to duplicate the towers so many times with an unknown artifact that gets its power from the sun, an honest mistake. He spread the magic of the tower too thin, and a great sandstorm swept over the towers and they shattered. His defenses down, the warring neighbors came riding in and finally conquered the Sultan's kingdom. He was forced to watch his family murdered by assassins. The emotional turmoil the Sultan went through affected the Crystal Shard, and a part of his spirit went into Crenshinibon. It's unclear if it was sentient before this, but now Crenshinibon had a purpose. The twisted aspects of the 7 liches combined with the agony of the Sultan would now define how the crystal interacted with others. It craved power. It began a quest to become more powerful, to dominate others, and it would aid any creature that would help fulfill that quest. The shard is not necessarily evil, but note I will say that it is an evil artifact later. Its goal is to obtain power. Although it may perform or encourage evil acts as a means to an end, the shard is odd as it doesn't control an individual, but it does change their state of mind to align with the wants and wishes of the shard. It is in this way that attuning to Crenshinibon is more of a relationship. The shard instills great magic into the user, and the user gives the shard the ability to conquer and grow in power. The crystal has had countless bearers that it molded into tyrants and iron-fisted kings. However, in Volo's Guide to All Things Magical, Crenshinibon was considered quite evil and was constantly sought after by the demon Urtu. The demon Ertu was present at the creation of Crenshinibon, but hurled back into the abyss when the liches were absorbed into the crystal shard. For a long time, he believed the crystal to have been destroyed, until centuries later he discovered Cryshal-Tirith, the tower that looks and pulses exactly like the crystal shard. Before he could snatch it up, the solar Aldemenira from the upper planes grabbed it and banished Ertu again back to the abyss. This angelic being attempted to destroy the relic, but discovered he could not, burning his flesh as he held it. Aldemira threw the shard across the plains, hoping it would be lost forever. Crenshinibon came to rest in the snow of a northern mountain range on Tiril, known as the Spine of the World, where it laid for centuries until discovered by a weak-willed apprentice wizard named Akar Kessel. This is the beginning of the Forgotten Realms novel, The Crystal Shard. How does Crenshinibon work though? Could you incorporate it into your game? There are some second edition stats that we can work with, and perhaps this relic will make an appearance in your story. Crenshinibon gets its power from the sun and must be exposed to direct sunlight to charge up. It absorbs 12 power levels of energy for every hour it is in sunlight. The artifact can store a maximum of 144 power levels, after which additional exposure to sunlight does nothing. When not in sunlight, such as during the night, or if the crystal is taken into the Underdark, it loses 1 power level every hour. The energy just dissipates from the relic. Someone attuned to this artifact can also burn these power levels to create spell effects. The cost is 1 power level per level of a spell effect. Spell effects may be maintained at night, but no new spell effects can be created. The relic pulls sunlight directly in while casting, and this is something that cannot be done underground or at night. It's a sentient artifact with an intelligence of 19, wisdom of 18, and charisma of 18. It usually seeks weak, indecisive bears as they are easier to manipulate than creatures who have their own agenda for the shard. Crenshinibon radiates heat, and it provides the same benefits as a ring of warmth for anyone in contact with the shard. Those attuned to it have the benefit of a ring of telekinesis and can cast numerous spells, essentially becoming an 18th level wizard instantly. All spell effects except those from the enchantment school appear as a ray of blinding bright light, hurling fireballs and guiding bolts at a seemingly unlimited range. The relic serves as a rod of rulership for its bearer, but without charges. You are able to charm creatures around you for 8 hours at a time. Those charmed see you as a trusted leader. The shard is considered evil by 2nd edition standard, and aims to control you for its twisted purposes. Few realize this, but every 10 successful uses of the wizard spell Domination permanently lowers both the wisdom and intelligence of the user by 1 point. Eventually you become more of a slave to the crystal and are unable to perform magic without it. The caster can use Crenshinibon as a scrying tool and facilitates magical transportation without air. Such a powerful item is of course cursed, and any user should be wary. The intelligent relic doesn't talk to you, but communicates subconsciously in a fashion similar to the dream spell. After years of molding the owner this way, Crenshinibon can start to communicate directly with the owner and cast the suggestion spell on them as if cast by an 18th level wizard. This suggestion spell is more effective while the user is sleeping, and often the artifact will wait for its host to fall asleep. A fickle item, if you're not furthering its agenda, Crenshinibon will withhold its great powers from you, leaving you as the poor apprentice wizard you once were. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Comment below if you'll be using Crenshinibon in your campaign, and consider sharing this video with a friend. I make lore videos on the worlds of Dungeons & Dragons. If you really want to support my endeavors on D&D lore, stop by Patreon and join the growing community. I'll see you next time with another video on Dungeons & Dragons.